Guys, we are back. OP06 meta update. Still not talking about EB yet. Still not talking about Three Brothers. We'll have that video coming out soon. I just want to start off with, I think we nailed it.
I think we did.
We are very
This
close, is our original list.
Yeah.
I think we did great. I think some of the things that we called were like shots based on if people take the risk, and I don't think based on the little bit of like deck registration and conversion information we have, those risks were not really taken. But we'll get into that. We're basically going to start by running over our original list here of what we thought we ranked everything. Then going into some data we have on top cutting decks from all the OP6 events in English so far. I think we're missing one of the EU or two of the EU's events for data points. But everything for NA, Canada, and Mexico is in this list. And then we'll come back and just reformat the list based on that information and talk about where we see things going. But Luke, general thoughts, having played, you played what, 2 regionals?
I played 2 regionals.
I played 3.
Far. Yeah, my general thought is I've been fighting the mirror so goddamn much.
The mirror being Katakuri.
Yeah, Katakuri. So yeah, for context, my main deck right now is Katakuri. I don't know if it should be anymore or not. Like, I mean, like, I feel like set 6 has a little bit been solved because we're still waiting on EB, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's where it feels like everybody's kind of stationed at, is like, these are our top 3 and this is like what it is right now. So, I mean, Katakuri was a slog. It really did feel like whoever freewheeled was the better one, right? Yeah.
And the wheeling isn't based on, aside from limited kata information, like revealing moving, isn't too much like up to the player.
Yeah, exactly. It really did feel very like lucky and casino-y. And also, I think, like, I mean, I'll get into this later, but I think like the conversion rate for Katakuri and like the entry rate for Katakuri was like that large in the first place because it was easier to build those decks, right? Like, I mean, if we think about O2, everybody was playing, they were running Kinemon at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody was taking the O1 cards and like, oh, this is the easiest deck to build, right? And also it was like slightly like the funnest one if it wasn't Zoro, right? So like that, with that in mind, like, I think that's what everybody did for Katakuri. We were all trying to figure out what the different deck lists were based off of what Japan was thinking. Like, oh yeah, was it going to be Nami? Was it going to be like the sturdy list, you know? So that was my general takeaway. I was fighting for my life with the mirror, and then I was fighting for my life for Moria. So, against Moria.
Yeah, that feels like a rough one.
Yeah.
That goes into my biggest takeaway. Moria is the Whitebeard of this format.
Yeah.
Everyone's on this deck. It's like, it's play by numbers. You just swing every turn. You're always going to see it. And it's interesting to me to see that with how it's more consistent than Saka with a lower ceiling. It does have some play in the Saka because of Sabo specifically that helps you with it, right?
Yeah.
Even though the bottom decking is a deterrent to you in terms of like really doing things. And even so, most of the player base has traded the higher ceiling because there was a lot of people playing Saka in America. It wasn't like, yes, we had more yellow than Japan, it seemed like, but it was like there was a lot of Saka players. And a lot of them are on the Moria. They said we want a little more consistency. We don't care if the ceiling isn't as high. We want to resolve these plays, win our die rolls, do this, do that. And then the other side of the spectrum has gone the yellow, which is the absolute reverse of that, as you just talked about. And so I just think it's really interesting where we've ended up.
I have to agree. And it, I mean, it really does feel like, like Gecko Moria is the red of like the Zoro and the Whitebeard of like this set. The playline, the consistency, like the aggro, the rush, it feels a lot like NA's playstyle.
Yeah, it's inherently aggro because you have to swing 6 to activate, right? So you're always getting in there. You're always putting on board. You're always going to find your Moria.
One of your on-curve plays is to attach 2 on a Moria and then swing and then bring out a Perone, right? Like, you're effectively dropping so many cards out of their hand just by doing that, or like
on draw play. On play it's just 6 because it's.
Oh yes, yeah.
I went. I want to thank Eggman as always for getting all the data he does. All this data is sourced from his website. Thank you so much. I have 2 things. So first, we're going to look at top cut breakdowns and then look at conversion rates. So these are all of the NA/Mexico Canada events that we had. And Canada's in NA. Is Mexico in NA? It is, right? Yeah. Cool. Completely redundant. Just saying like chai tea, like. The one thing to note is that a few of these only had top 16s for me to draw from. So there's a little bit of discrepancy of like the top 16s for those events counted to top 32s because obviously top 32s. But it means from those events we are missing half the top 32 to the top 32 placements, right? Right. So starting with the winning decks from these events, we had 8 events to draw from. We had 2 Moria wins, 2 Sakazuki wins, 3 Katakuri wins, 2 by the same guy. And one Edward Newgate win, which he's back, dude. We're so back. Thoughts?
Just in general. I mean,
yeah.
I think like this is a very I think it's very valid. I'm surprised that like we have like Gecko in the lead here, but with only like a conversion rate of like 2 wins, and then like Katakuri in 5th with like 3. That's weird. I don't know. I feel like that's
a
weird.
little awkward.
Yeah.
Also, with how dense the Moria registration has been, I'm so shocked how few Perona tops there are.
I think that's the only one we kind of missed, but like. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a popularity contest. I feel like there were just more people playing green, yellow Yamato than they were like playing Perona. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
I want to figure out like what it is about like I think NA like just like playing the characters they like, and then like what is like advantageous, right? Like so.
What is advantageous? I think there's also like, considering how less events there are, but they're longer, they're stretched out more, they're bigger. I found the most Japanese events because of the way they're handled. Players are an example. I think a lot of people do this, which is a consideration I also have at times, depending on what the format's like. Of like, I could play like Sakazuki, but am I gonna be able to turn my brain that long for 10 rounds?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, am I more advantageous by having to think less because my game will end faster whether I win or lose, and make sure I make the most optimal like 20 minutes of gameplay in each 20-minute round, then play out a deck where I'm incentivized to draw it out all like 35 minutes, Right. So that's the put in here. So all the decks that have any sort of top 32 or better, Gecko Moria starts at 68, goes to 39 in top 16, 23 in top 8, 2 winner. Saka, 61 top 32s, 40 made it to top 16, 21 in top 8, 2 wins. And now, surprisingly, way less than I thought, especially how many people registered yellow. They just went all white Cat. Has 5 top 32s, 4 top 16s, 2 top 8s, and 0 wins. Cat has 42 top 32s, 23 top 16s, 15 top 8s, and 3 winners. Red Purple Law, 6 top 32s, 3 top 16s, 2 top 8s, no winners. Green Uta, 1 top 32. The guy made it all the way to top 16 and then stopped it there. Shout out to that guy. Way to go.
What a hero, dude.
EB's calling for you, dude.
Yeah.
Reiju, I was really surprised with the Reiju numbers here. 15 top 32s, 10 top 16s, 6 top 8s, but no wins. 6 top 8s, though, kind of.
That's fire.
6 top 8s in 8 events.
Yeah. That's really not bad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, it feels like Reiju is one of those high skill cap, like, decks, to be honest. Like, if you're playing this deck, like, you kind of have to know exactly all the play lines.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I think, like, you'll get a few, like, really dedicated players.
There's so much going against it too with the other top decks, right? Cat, Moria, great interaction into the board. 5 life leaders. Can't rush it down easily.
Yeah.
Saka, 4 life leader, so you can rush it down,
but
they have the most interaction, right? So I think that speaks a lot to the deck. Green Yellow Yamato, of course, it comes in many flavors. We don't know exactly which one all these were. Was not going to take that time to look at every deck list.
Like which ones are Fortress, which ones are like Sky Island,
12 top 32s, 8 in the top 16, 2 top 8s, 0 winners. Perona, 3 top 32s, all of them made the top 16, they ended their run there. Edward Newgate, 3 top 32s, and then 1 top 16 that went all the way to win the entire event. Nami, 1 top 32 because they went all the way to top 16. And 1 Zoro in top 32. Surprised there are less than 3 Zoros.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I feel like I know who the one is, right? Like that's gotta be. You know who you are.
What's up, Arian?
What's up, dude?
Going back to our leaderboard here, right?
Yes.
Like pretty much everything we said. Uda coming in at Rogue, taking their 1 top cut, right?
Right.
Reiju top cutting multiple times, getting the win. All the ones here we got to win except for Perona, so we will have to demote her to top cutting. Zoro still getting the top cut, and Nell getting the top cut, Nami getting the top cut, Red Purple all getting top cut, Red Green getting demoted to Rogue. And I'm just gonna put Edward Newgate top of Rogue. I don't think it's top cut. It's got the 1 win. I got 1 on top. Sorry. Excuse me, 1 on top. Uda got a top, and then everything else, is open for business. Like nothing else really seemed to skew. There's nothing from our stays at locals that got into Rogue or top cut
because they stayed at locals.
Listen to the guides, baby. It seems like, we have a lot to learn still. There's going to be a lot of innovation still. But we're really seeing a lot of pull ahead. And I think, again, the NA players, they want their Edward Newgate back, and they found it in Moria. That's my biggest takeaway.
I have to agree. I mean, like, it is... I mean, coming out of Nats, right? I mean,
right.
I was playing Zoro and Nats because I came in there with that mindset of like tournament wellness, which is something that Saucy taught me actually. What he said, like, oh yeah, like making sure that you are playing with like optimally, like health wise and then like mentally wise. So like running a consistent deck its game plan is one thing, and you don't have to rely on anything else.
And that very innately.
Exactly. Yeah, like that is, I think, Gecko Moria. That is exactly Gecko Moria, because it doesn't matter what you end up trashing, right? Because you want to see it there.
It's 85, 90% paint by numbers.
Exactly.
Here's where I think it actually gets really interesting, right? So obviously, like, decks winning tells you where power levels are, right? But if you're trying to figure out what to bring to your event, what's the most important thing? Conversion rate is what we want to look at. So, what a conversion rate means is that we look at how many people register the deck at an event, and how many of those people, percent-wise, if you are one of this mass of people, how many converted? Because that tells you where real power level lies. Because it breaks away from the skill, right? Like, there is a skill component that usually comes into it. Red Green Law is a great example.
Yeah.
One of the lower until like much later into the formats registered number of decks at the events with the highest number of those total pool players making in the top cut, right?
This is what separates like the bandwagoners from the actual like try hard like players.
Yeah,
right?
but also showing you where there is smoke, right? Where like like it isn't just like, oh, I was really good with this deck, I got matchups. It's like no. Where there's smoke, there's fire. This happens, right? So we have 3 events that we have the data sets for. Again, thank you, Eggman, for collecting all these. This means we have again a weird thing. I noted right here, Santa Clara was a 500 person event, 518 whatever, with top cut 16 instead of top 32. So we don't have the full top 32. We have the top 32 that includes those 16 only. So like the top 32, top 16 could be a little skewed in that way. And we're also missing percentage rates for other decks because of that.
Right.
But I have them ranked here by conversion rate. And again, Gecko Moria on top. In those 3 events, 519 copies of Gecko Moria registered. 29 making the top 32, 16 the top 16, and 2 wins.
2 wins.
So a 5.59% conversion.
Yeah, massive. I mean, like, that just really shows.
In such a diverse format, mind you. Like yes, Moria and Cat have taken so many wins, but like we've seen, like, there's a lot of things that are live. There's a lot of flavors that are live.
Yeah.
Sakazuki, 471 decks played, 23 in the top 32, 14 in the top 16, 0 wins, but still a 4.88 conversion rate to just top cutting from the open field. And now, surprisingly, this is like one of the red green law things where there's smoke, there's fire. This is something you should be paying attention to right now.
Yeah.
49 copies played across 3 events. 2 in the top 32, 1 in the top 16 for a 4% conversion rate. Huge.
I think that just literally is just like the mechanic of an L, right? Like, I mean, like, you're literally like, you're still okay because your card is still strong. Your leader is still strong. Yeah. So like, this is great. I mean, like, I expect that. And, I expect that.
You know, this one in particular, like, unlike, I keep saying red green law, it's the easiest thing a lot of people know, so sorry if I'm annoying you, with these stats, is that this could just be tagged up to the main deck, right?
Right.
This could just be, we give this percent to, we add these in the Katakuri, and Katakuri's percent goes up, because what it really is yellow dot deck, right? Right. But they don't have big mobs, which is huge, and I think it's important to look at it as its own thing, specifically because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 7 mobs, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
Katakuri, speaking of, so again, won a bunch of events, right? Surprisingly, much lower on the conversion rate, according to these 3 events at least. 681 total played, 19 in the top 32, 10 in the top 16, 1 win. We know there's more wins. We don't have the decks for that one, right? So like, we have it from this one where it won. We don't have it from, you know, the other one. But from these 3 events, only a 2.79 conversion rate. Still pretty good.
Pretty good.
For how many decks are in that pool.
Yeah.
And taking a win also, but
it just feels like you're taking a bunch of darts and throwing it at the board, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like, of course one's gonna hit a bullseye.
It's
like,
more than a full percentage point under an L. It's 1.2 under an L. It is 2 points under Sokka.
Yeah, I mean that for me it makes sense, right? Because like I come from Warhammer, right? And like the thing is like the thing that they show on you is like, oh, here are the Space Marines or here are the Stormcast Eternals, right? And these are like the poster board boy child like. Easy to build, easy to think of, like, types of, like, decks or armies or whatever. In my opinion, Katakuri is, like, this high, like deck, like, pool coming in. 681 players, right?
Rubber Ball, 56 decks registered across 3 events. 1 in the top 32, no else. So that one note, 56, puts you at a 1.79%.
Yeah.
Not the worst. Green Uda at 1.69, 59 decks. Yeah. 1 in the top 32, made it all the way to the top 16. Again, just having, you know, the lower percentage because you have those 3 extra decks. Right. See where that hits it, but basically the same as Red Purple Law. Yeah. Reiju, 184 decks registered, 3 in the top cut for 32, 1 in top 16, puts it at a 1.63. You know, so 3 against the 184.
Yeah. And I think
not
like,
the hottest.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the decks that like people were hyped to play, right? Like
yeah.
between this and like Yamato, people are going to build this deck if they want it, like if they want it, right? So it makes sense that the conversion rate is like that, and it is getting a high skill cap. Deck,
but also notably, right? Again, like this is such a small pool for overall conversion rates. You know, like this is a good way to look at it so you can understand like how metagames work and how like top cutting actually matters, how you can actually assess power levels of decks. But for example, Reiju, we go back here, right, to the main breakdowns. Reiju, 15 tops across total, right?
Right.
This one represents 3.
Yes.
It had so much more success in other events that we don't have the number of registered decks for, so we can't pull it for conversion rates.
So this isn't like a holistic like.
Yeah, this is just a good starting point to think about, and for people who don't look at this stuff normally, which I think is a lot of players, it opens your eyes to like there's more than just the list you see in front of you. Right. Green Yamato, 201 decks registered, 3 in top 32, all those made the top 16. 1.49 conversion rate.
Yep.
It's the aggro Unga Bunga Zoro deck, not to be derogative. Like, but it is like, hey, we're throwing it at the wall. There's gonna be a lot of players. Most of us won't make it through. That's just kind of what you're signing up for. Let's play Fortress, and you're kind of playing a control deck, and you're a little bit different. And then Perona, 83 registered at these 3 events, 1 in top 32, went all the way to top 16, stopped there, 1.2% conversion rate. I mean,
the numbers speak for themselves, right? I mean, like,
I think the most interesting to me here was that. And again, only 3 events, right? But like, not how many people played Gecko, but how many people played Gecko and how good. Like Gecko to Katakuri is only 100, and this is a big number. But we look at all these big numbers now. Only 170 players off. And the conversion rate is what? 2.8 percent difference. Wild.
Because of how consistent it is, right? Because of because of what you're banking on with Katakuri versus what you're banking on with Gecko Moria. Like, it just makes sense.
And how they pair to each other as well.
Agreed, I mean, like, that, some of my, I mean, it felt like a 55-45 a lot of times with Katakuri, depending on if you ended up denying. I mean, not even true. I think, like Gecko Moria doesn't mind taking first into, like, Katakuri.
No,
I mean, it
just gets more aggressive.
It's just good. I mean, I don't know.
Like, the only good thing about going second by comparison, right, is that they go 7 mom if they go on 7, right? Then you go 8 Katakuri, and they can't even follow up with a 10 mom, whereas you go first, they go 7 on curve, you go 8 Moria, not Katakuri, and then they go 10 mom, which is like a better, like, bookend to those things, right? I'm not surprised because we knew it was good, and, it doesn't take, someone who looks at too much data, and I looked at a lot of data. So Japan's going to naturally go Sagazuki, and I thought we would go more towards Enel Yellow, which we have, and more towards, like, Perona, but, like, man, Moria is just here, and it is dominating, and it's here, dude.
It's here.
And it's shocking to me that, like, and I think this also, like, speaks of the culture of American events, right?
Yes.
Not just the players, but that we are playing, someone said the other day, like 10-round events, 1,000 some people. You have to be more lucky than good to top deck. Not that people who top aren't good, but like when you can only go X2 to guarantee a top that matters, right, in these events, and 10 rounds because there's just so many people, you have to be better lucky than good, because at some point you're just gonna, like, most average people are gonna have at least one game that they're gonna lose off variance, just from like a bad variance of hand or life or whatever have you that's important in mills if you're
brick whatever,
right? Just like the average person in 10 rounds, if you do 10 shuffles and 10 mulligans, right, you're gonna have one hand you're stuck with that's like absolutely garbage. And so, this is where we're seeing that consistency with the lower ceiling beat out such a high ceiling deck like Sakazuki that has a much higher power scale, but has its own ability to brick to itself because in its card selection, it needs to do a lot of card pairing. And so you could cycle the wrong card inadvertently because you just draw different cards better with it. You can cycle a card too early that you then need later. You're like, I'm going to cycle another piece. And we're seeing that both skill gap and that variance gap catch up with it here in America.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So, like, it makes sense for Gecko players to want to eliminate that one level of variance, right? Like, by eliminating that one level of variance and, like, sticking to, like, what their deck is able to do, right? That they become more consistent because of that.
And it's funny because that's why people in Japan played Saka so dominantly. Because it cut down on inconsistency and variables. But I think that with the way that NA events are structured and ran, it doesn't work in the same way that Moria actually favors and advantages them, which is really nuts to me. Also, Why the are you all the way down here? Get up here, boy.
Shouldn't it be Reiju? Shouldn't it be?
Let's check the chart.
Oh no, it's not.
15, 6.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll give it to you.
But yeah, no, I mean like, I also wonder too. I wonder if all the Sakazuki players hopped off of Sakazuki because they're just like, it's gonna get banned. You know? I wonder if that's also part of it.
Yeah, I mean, not wanting to invest in it, right? When Mora is a viable
yes
leader in 07. I think that's something else really important to think about, and at some point, like numbers. But I think you would see it more here in the conversion rate.
Right.
I think that's why conversion rate matters, right?
Yes.
Is that if everyone was hopping off, it doesn't stop the Saka still being played from doing well. And if anything should, in theory, I mean, granted, really good players can be the ones converting, right? But should, in theory, hurt the conversion rate, and we're not. And at least with
seeing it. Right.
From the data we have, we are not seeing it.
So it's not that people are hopping off, right? Yeah, it is.
Or it's not that factual,
right?
You know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, take a look at this list, knowing like this, like our regional winning, our top cut, our rogue is like pretty solidified based on data we have. Is there anything you think like could be shifting up and down this list as players start to like really refine themselves? I think, you know, I talked about how Red Green Law had an opportunity. That opportunity is now gone, especially now that people have solidified into Moria. We are out. That deck is not playable.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in EV potentially, but even then it's going to be rough-a-roni.
Yeah. I would like to think that Zoro is actually in Rogue. I think like I don't think it's gonna top cut based off.
I meant
to
bring this down.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think Nami is actually just better into these decks, which is why even though it has the same amount of tops, it stays up here in my opinion.
Nami will always have those players. Nami will always have that consistent like we are the lab rat like people who will continually play this deck until like it's good and like it wins, right? So like but then again they also run the variance game. They also run the numbers game, right? So like that's hard too. It's just going to always be there. I think no matter what format and what set we're at, which is why blue cards are so hard to build now. So, but yeah, I think like I'm surprised about Perona the most. Actually.
Yeah, I think we might see a big rebound here in the next month. Here's something I want to put out there. I think the sleeper out of everything that's on this board right now is Purple Luffy. I think this deck, the problem is it's basically like all in on seeing Magellan.
Right.
And like you want to Magellan or double Magellan your opponents. Just straight up, because the big things are going to be removed so easily by both Black and Sokka.
Right.
But if you can like figure out like, I think you're trying to play like tempo. You're trying to play like Magellan. You're trying to get on walls. You're on ulti page 1 aggression. You're not playing big game. You're playing cheating out mid game bodies early, and then on your 5-6 turns like really getting in there with damage, or like playing your Sheep's Horn or your what's the Top Knot, you know, like cards. I think there is a path forward for this deck because the more we solidify to go big decks, the more tempoing out their Dawn is going to have a better impact, especially when you're throwing down 5-6s, 5-7s, 6-7s, etc. So you know, I think like in terms of like you're looking for something to play that we didn't talk about today, and we don't talk about this one. It's Purple Luffy and it's Nami. I think those are the two decks that people. We talk about Perona. Perona's go. Yeah, that's like obvious. We have data to back that up. Yeah. But I think these two decks have the biggest up without the extra booster coming out.
Yeah. Yep. I have to agree. Especially with the Purple Luffy assessment. I mean, like a lot of like Katakuri's game. A lot of like all these guys who are top cut regional winnings, right? Like their entire game is to stall out until 10 Dawn oftentimes, right? So like putting them on that minus Dawn curve is really just throws a wrench into those types of decks. So like, yeah.
And only like, again, it's unfair to be like, it's all about this one character. But it's all about more, so I feel like we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
If you're all in on Magellan, the only deck that can deal with it is Sakazuki without being hyper punished, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, makes sense.
I guess the only biggest difference, right, is that you guys see Magellan earlier. So you have less like time to see it, right? That's like the big thing.
Right.
But you are drawing off life with that leader, so you know you get a little bit of help there. But chat, viewer out there, let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah.
Are we just a bunch of bozos? You got it pretty right so far. I mean, we're making some good calls here.
Yeah, some good guesses in the dark. I mean, not really totally in the dark, but you know.
We have two things that'll be shaking up the meta soon. ST13.
Yep.
13, the three brothers.
Yep.
Starter deck, premium starter deck. We have a video on that coming out, reviewing all those, and deck guides on those. And Extra Booster, we are not going to revisit the meta until Extra Booster is about to come out. We'll basically take like a big look back at what like Three Brothers has done and what the rest of the format seeing this data has done. And then we're going to make our predictions for Extra Booster. We will also be, I'll just start talking about it now in case we're going to do shit there. We will also be at LA Regionals. The offline event's going to be super hype. We're going to be trying to get some media badges, do some shooting and some content there. We'll let you know how that goes. Should be super duper fun. I am locking into Red Purple Law right now, and I'm going to keep playing it even in this format. So memorize all the play lines. I'm calling my shot. I'm just going to do it right now, put it on the internet. I am going to break my top 64 curse and top 32 or better with Red Purple Law at offline LA Regionals. Saying it right here.
All right. I want to go X and 3. I think that's attainable. I think it
is attainable.
I think that's fine.
What are you thinking about for that one?
Dude, my heart wants to be Katakuri. I want to still do it, but like after tonight, like actually after our locals tonight, like I played Moria. I did really well. That was my first. I never ran Moria before in my life. And I never looked at it. I've only ran against it.
Numbers.
Yeah, it's
your
just
brain.
too
we
good.
Talking about Moria be lounging, dude. Your brain be lounging playing
dude,
that deck.
for real. I mean, that's why I play Zara. Arya, don't look at me.
With that, we will see you guys on the next one.
Later.